reporter says he saw the tail end of a large airliner plunge into the Pentagon building. What we know, New York City is on a terrorist alert, and here in Washington, the White House, all of the White House, the old Executive Office building, Blair Mansion, other major government institutions, including Treasury and the State Department, have also been evacuated amid credible terrorist threats.
All right, Dave, go ahead, take it.
Thank you. We've got some eyewitnesses as you... Mike, why don't you stay on and show the pictures over here, and I'll talk to the eyewitnesses. You can look at what's going on, the firefighting efforts. We had a couple people who were in the Pentagon at the time. Tell me what happened.
We were sitting at our desks having a meeting, and there was a large shutter, or there was a shutter of the building, and the sound of a large thud.
Right, you could hear the impact, and there was a large concussion, like an explosion would do. The air would be a concussion.
Well, we didn't know there was an explosion. It was clear. We looked at each other and knew that something catastrophic had happened, but we had no idea what it was. People began evacuating immediately and went outside. And it wasn't until we were outside we realized what had happened.
How far away from you in the building were you when it happened?
Well, if you divide the building into fifths, 5 pie slices, which is the way the Pentagon renovation is scheduled. This is in the first wedge, the new wedge that just was finished, and we were in the next one over.
Did you see any injured other than the ones who were out here that we saw?
I didn't see any injuries.
Did you see what size of plane it was when you got outside?
No, but walking up here now along the road, there are pieces of aircraft spread all the way up the road, at least a third of a mile from the impact site.
What goes on? Can you tell us what would be in those offices, generally speaking? I know you can't go into great detail.
Well, we're looking at the E-ring of the Pentagon, and that's where the more senior officials are. That area, I believe, is where the Army Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations and the Army Deputy Chief of Staff for Personnel's offices are.
We're looking here also, I believe, I don't have a monitor, but I believe you're looking at one of the injured being taken away by Arlington Fire and Rescue. They've been on the scene since a few minutes after this happened. And I mentioned before, but the firefighters and police officers on the scene here have all been warned, keep a close look at the skies, watching for a possible second attack as what happened in New York. Mike and Andrea?
All right, we're going to go to Rick Armstrong. He's one of our photojournalists. He's down on the mall. Rick?
Hi, Buck.
What you got?
Not a whole lot other than the fact that the city is shut down. I'm at the base of the Washington Monument. Park police officer a few minutes ago told me they've shut down all the monuments. They're evacuating all the buildings, including the White House. I can look across the river at the Pentagon, and it's an incredible smoke plume.
Bet you everybody.
Emergency vehicles going in every direction. Look like Secret Service vehicles, fire vehicles, police vehicles. 25 years here, I've never seen anything like this.
What's the reaction of the people there, mostly tourists, I'm sure, and some working in the area?
To be honest with you, I've talked to a lot of tourists, and they're just, what do you expect? They're all shocked. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I know.
It's hideous.
I know. Yeah. I can imagine what it's like down there. We're sitting here. Every plane we keep an eye on. I imagine everybody throughout the city.
Looking
you see
up
a
at the
plane.
sky.
Yes. I've had no luck making any communication except for I'm on a payphone. The cell phones are down. The displays are down.
Right.
I don't know why.
I
think we know why.
We decided to come to this location. I'm with Frank Herzog. We were on a sports story. We decided to come to this location because this is a very likely spot for an act of terrorism. Sad it is to say that. But, and so we're just kind of keeping our eyes and ears open here.
All right, Rick, thank you very much.
Yep.
Let's go to Lauren Ashburn now, USA Today. She's Lauren?
Frank?
No,
this is Andrea and Buck.
Hi, Andrea. Hi, Buck. I am on the 22nd floor of the USA Today Tower 1 building overlooking this immense plume of smoke, the E-ring of the Pentagon. You can't even see it from this distance. There is a helicopter hovering over the site, taking pictures and taking a look at what's happening inside. I'm looking down on traffic, which is completely gridlocked on Route 50 heading out of the city. Heading into the city on Route 395, you can see traffic is moving along quite quickly, and we have heard several fire trucks and EMS trucks pass us by here. I'm looking down right on the ground right now on the ramp that would take you to Route 110. They have blocked that off. There's a police officer standing right in the middle of the street right now.
Thank you very much. I just...
Let's go back to Dave, who is at the Pentagon site. Dave?
Hey, I just heard another explosion of some sort. Now, it could be a secondary explosion here from something happening, but we just heard a loud pop just as you were coming to me. It seemed to be on the east of here. I can't tell what it is. It might be something that's secondary to this because we had a number of small explosions after the fire occurred.
Dave, we understood there was construction. The area that was struck by the plane and what's on fire, was that the area under construction, so maybe there weren't a lot of people in that area?
There is, yeah, there's toward the south end of this area there are construction trailers, I can say that. But I can't tell you for sure if this area would be sparsely populated. We're actually being asked to move back by Virginia State Police a little bit. We're going to try to keep this location as much as possible. The reason they asked us to move back is because, of course, they're concerned about any secondary explosions. I can tell you from my experience as a firefighter, there's still a great deal of fire inside the Pentagon by the smoke that's coming out of there. I'm sure firefighters are inside making sure first that they can get everybody out that they can and then trying to attack the fire inside. They've also had fire, of course, on the outside that probably involved some sort of airplane fuel. That's why it burned it's still burning, in fact, on the south end, on the outside, near those construction trailers. Again, I can't tell you much more other than a loud pop just a few minutes ago that seemed a little bit different than the ones we heard earlier, which were on the outside here that could have been tires or something else. We're just watching also as they're taking another man to the hospital. It looks like it's going to be a medevac, and what I can tell, it looks like he's burned. There seems to be a burn sheet on top of him. Medics are taking him to the U.S. Park Police Eagle helicopter. I think we'll try to get a shot of that. We're going to show you over here on Washington Boulevard. The Eagle helicopter from Park Police is landing, taking this man to the hospital. From my vantage point, it looks like he has burns. We also, besides Arlington Fire and Rescue, see some doctors, what appear to be doctors on the scene. Not sure if they're military or not, who seem to be helping with the injured. As you can see, Virginia State Police are, again, trying to move us back, but I think we've been able to stall them off for the moment. Again, this is the E-ring of the Pentagon. Hold on one second, Mike and Andrea. In fact, we're seeing a second man who clearly is burned being sent to that medevac helicopter.
Right behind that truck. Right there.
As you can see, they're rushing him down here. This is a second person we have confirmed has what appears to be very serious burns.
Yes, we can see his hands being burned.
Can you take it back for a second? We need to coordinate something here. I'll be right back with you.
All right. We're just getting across the wire, too. Again, what preceded the Pentagon plane crash was the horrific destruction of the two planes crashing into the World Trade Center, which you see in our picture on the right-hand side of your screen. A witness said he saw bodies falling from the 110-story towers and people jumping out. There are no confirmed casualties or injuries, but looking at this.
This is tape.
This is tape from earlier this morning.
When the jet plowed in. Now we're getting word one of the World Trade Center towers in New York City has collapsed. It's collapsed, the structural damage from the two planes plowing in.
Also to let you know, because of what has happened, the Federal Aviation Administration has shut down all airplane traffic nationwide, nothing coming in, nothing going out. BWI will allow planes to land that were in the traffic pattern for landing, but I think after that, everything will be shut down. We're in a lockdown is basically what it is. All government buildings, major government buildings, have been evacuated. We heard from our crews on the scene that the Pentagon has been evacuated. Monuments and museums have been evacuated. Let's go to Frank Herzog, who is near one of the most visible monuments in the city, the Washington Monument. Frank, what do you see? What do you hear?
I'm on the west grounds of the Washington Monument. The area has been completely evacuated by Park Police, and I think I could answer Dave Statter's question about that secondary explosion.
Yes.
It wasn't an explosion. That was the sonic boom of jet fighters that were scrambled out of Andrews Air Force Base, we believe. They just circled the Washington area, flying from the east out to the west, and they were in a hurry, and they were high up in the air. So jet fighters, at least one, possibly two, were scrambled, probably as a precautionary measure. Needless to say, downtown Washington, D.C., except for the vehicular traffic, which is bumper to bumper, the rest of the city has been shut down. It looks like a Sunday morning here. The mall is absolutely empty. Park Police came through about 10 minutes ago, evacuated the entire area, and told tourists to go somewhere else. But I can tell you right now that at least one, if not two, jet fighters have been scrambled. They are patrolling the skies over Washington.
Frank Herzog, thank you very much. Let me just read you the lead. The Associated Press lead just came out of New York. First of all, let's check in with Dave Staddard at the Pentagon. Dave?
It collapsed right now. As you can see, I assume you're taking our picture. I do not have a monitor, but right now we just had a middle section here of the E-ring of the Pentagon collapse from the amount of fire and destruction from this. So obviously there was a great deal of damage here. It just collapsed. We don't know who is inside or how many people are inside. You heard somebody, one of the people who was inside the building, talked to us a short time ago and said this E-ring of the Pentagon has a great many senior officials. So if somebody was planning something, this might have been the place if they wanted to get senior officials. Again, most of the fire, the
House, White House, all of the White House, the old Executive Office Building, Blair Mansion, other major government institutions, including Treasury and the State Department, have also been evacuated.
We were sitting at our desks having a meeting, and there was a large shutter, or there was a shutter of the building, and the sound of a large thud.
Right, you could hear the impact, and there was a large concussion.
Credible terrorist threats.
All right, Dave, go ahead, take it.
Thank you. We've got some eyewitnesses. Mike, why don't you stay on and show the pictures over here, and I'll talk to the eyewitnesses. You can look at what's going on, the firefighting efforts. We had a couple people who were in the Pentagon at the time. Tell me what happened.
Reporter says he saw the tail end of a large airliner plunge into the Pentagon building. What we know, New York City is on a terrorist alert, and here in Washington, the
like an explosion would do the air would be a concussion.
Well, we didn't know there was an explosion. It was clear. We looked at each other and knew that something catastrophic had happened, but we had no idea what it was. People began evacuating immediately.